simbaredu. Atino famba, Jehovah ndilo simbaredu. Atino namata, Jehovah ndilo simbaredu. Atino famba, Jehovah ndilo simbaredu. Atino namata.
In the first round, we're going to have Usher versus Mazowe, and Usher is going to be for the topic, then Mazowe is against the topic.
The mental ability of a person to learn, the capacity of the mind to understand, grasp a concept, and think logically is what we call intelligence. But now the question is, does this same intelligence depend upon environmental rather than genetic factors? Well, as team non-affirmative, we are saying this delegation of people believes that the capacity of the mind to comprehend is caused by the natural, social, and economic surroundings, and not rather than our natural hereditary blueprints which determine our characteristics. Firstly, to rebut the first point raised by the first speaker, I shall go on to quote. They said people are exposed to education so as to enhance their education. Well, schools mainly emphasize cramming rather than analyzing. Thus, people are learning the same concepts over and over again. This generation is learning the same concept over and over again. Thus, there is nothing that you're going to change. Therefore, we are saying a person's intelligence depends upon the genetics rather than the environment. Therefore, a person's genes are ones that makes a person adapt to different kinds of environments. Analyzing is as a result of a person's intelligence, whereby a person's intelligence is dependent upon the genes, so as to analyze the different concepts that he or she has learned. Therefore, we are saying brilliance is as a result of books and education, but that intelligence depends upon the person where it is embodied. Our first line of argument, stated by our first speaker, I shall go on to say, heredity affects how much environmental factor can lead or change to intellectual intelligence of a person. A clear example stated by our first speaker, I shall go on to say, monozygotic or identical twins born in the same environments, they've got the same intelligence. They're born with their same intelligence, but rather they are raised in different environments. Therefore, at the end, when their IQ tests were done, their intelligence will only the same. Therefore, necessarily means that if they are raised in different environments, therefore their same intelligence is not going to be rendered. Therefore, we are saying yes, a person's intelligence depends upon one's genes rather than the environments they are raised in. Therefore, we are saying yes to the fact that the genes affect a person's intelligence. Another factor is that dizygotic twins, people who are twins but rather they are different, they are saying that people are raised in the same environment but rather than dizygotic twins. Therefore, their intelligence will be different due to the fact that they are dizygotic twins rather than monozygotic twins. Therefore, we are saying a person's intelligence depends upon the environment, depends upon the genes that he or she is in. Therefore, we are saying yes, a person's intelligence depends upon the environment, upon the genes rather than the environment. Where a person grows in the same environment, but rather his genes are changing. Our second point states that the reachability of IQ in juvenile twins is much lower, around 0.7 or around 0.45, which evidence provided by our fourth speaker. Therefore, we are saying a person's intelligence goes from 0.2 from infants up to 0.8 in adulthood. This is as a result of a person's intelligence growing due to the reinforcement of our genes. Reinforcement of our genes is accident. This is not as a result of the environment, but rather reinforcement of our genes occurs in a person as a person grows, not as a result of interaction with different environments, but rather a person's genes are the one that determines a person's intelligence. Our next point states that our genes are specific. This is thought to occur. This is through occurrence of a person's interaction with different circumstances, but rather our genes are specific. The fact that our genes are specific necessarily means that even if a person is exposed to different environments, his genetic types will not even change as a result of these different environments that he's exposed to. This is due to the fact that as our genes are specific, a person's intelligence will not be determined by the environment that he or she has been exposed to, but rather the genes are the one that makes a person being able to adapt to the different types of environments. Therefore, points of the non-affirmative, points of the affirmative team holds no water. Therefore, moving to our next point, maternal age affects a child's intelligence. Young mothers tend to bore children with high intelligence rather than older mothers. Young mothers tend to bore children with low intelligence rather than mothers who are older who bore children with high intelligence. As I've stated before, our genes are specific, and as a person grows, our genes get to reinforce. Due to the reinforcement of our genes, a person grows old and grows a child, and the child gets intelligence. Therefore, I say a person's intelligence depends upon his genetics and not the environment. Due to the fact that this same mother that is old, this same mother that is intelligent, pass on intelligence that he has to the child that is born. Therefore, we are saying a person's intelligence depends upon the environment rather than genetic factors. And this lies against the point of our affirmative that I say a person exposed to different environments enhanced by their environment, enhanced with their intelligence as a result of the different environments. Therefore, they are going to lose water. Our second line of argument, we are saying intelligence is inborn from birth. A clear example on Down syndrome. Well, their second speaker will get on to say Down syndrome is as a result of human interaction with the environment. No. A mother gets to bore a child, and the genetics of a person is as a result of fertilization. Therefore, we are saying the genes of the father, the genes of the mother gets to fuse, and as a result, a person gets 47 chromosomes rather than 46. So, is there any interaction with the environment? No. Therefore, intelligence accepted.
You're saying 47 and 46 chromosomes, which is gene mutation, but you've already said it can be affected by the environment.
Well, I stated before, a person's intelligence, 23 chromosomes from the mother, 23 chromosomes from the father get to fuse, but a person's intelligence due to gene mutation that occurs through the fusion of these genes, through the fusion of these chromosomes, will determine the person's intelligence. Therefore, if the child gets 47 chromosomes other than 46, therefore we are saying a person's intelligence will determine about the heredity that he got from the mother and from the father. Therefore, there is no intelligence that will goes to water. Our second point on the basis second line fact, we are saying phenylketonuria is said by our second speaker, and said by our fourth speaker, on chromosome 12, it's present on the chromosome 12 when enzyme PAH is present in the liver. And as a result, fault of PAH, that is phenylamine linked in a person, is in a person's body. Therefore, toxins are accumulated in a person, thereby person leads to mental retardation. As a result, a person gets less intelligent. There is no interaction of a person's intelligence. There is no interaction of a person's intelligence as a result of the different environments. No. But rather, phenylketonuria is caused by a person's intelligence as a result of the accumulation of the enzyme PAH that is present in the person's liver. Therefore, there is no interaction of a person's intelligence. Therefore, at the end, we see that intelligence depends upon genetics rather than the environment. Our second point, we say that Huntington's disease or chorea disease, this is a result of mutation of genes from the normal, that is from 10 to 34 and up to the end, up to 42 and 100. This is a result of a person who has not been born yet, with evidence shown to adjudicators by our own speakers. A person's intelligence will not be determined by the interaction with the different environments, but rather by the genetic mutation that has occurred from the normality from 10 to 34 up to 42 to 100. This is not as a result of different interaction with the environment, no, but rather as a person is born, he or she's intelligence will depend upon depending upon mutation of genes. Therefore, mutation of genes is not as a result of the environment, but rather it occurs inside the body and it's inborn. With all this, I shall raise my case. Thank you very much.
Our protocol is indeed observed. The motion at hand reads, this house believes that intelligence depends on environmental rather than genetic factors. And our stand goes, genes are the framework of intelligence and not the intelligence itself. Genes determine the maximum IQ that you can reach, but they are not the intelligence itself. They determine the maximum intelligence that you can reach, but they are not the intelligence itself. The intelligence that we acquire depends on the environment, depends on the surroundings. When we are in the surroundings that are filled up with information, that are filled up with the enhancers of our intelligence, we are going to be more intelligent. But when we are in an environment where we are deprived of enhancers of our intelligence, then we are going to be less intelligent. So So before I move on, rejected, out of order. Before I move on, allow me to rebut the points that were raised by Team Non-Affirmative. They came here and kept on singing about reinforcement of genes and telling us that genes grow bigger and bigger as you grow older. But what enhances that growth? What enhances that growth of genes? Actually the genes don't grow. It's the environment that increases. And what enhances that increment in intelligence? It's because of the environment that we are in. Actually, it's the intelligence that increases because of the environment that we are in. So what they are trying to say here is that when you are young, your genes are young and you are not intelligent, and you can go home and sit down until you grow older, your brains grow older, and then you are able to do all this. We are aspiring engineers, we are aspiring doctors. You can sit down and wait for your brain to grow older, and then you become a doctor. No, that's the very reason why we are taken to school, and not just any school, but a better school, because we want to enhance our education. We want to enhance our intelligence, which is what we are going to use in our careers, because we need people who are intelligent, people who are able to reason and solve problems in their career places, because we don't want people who are just good for nothing in the workplace. And that good for something comes with intelligence. You cannot be good for something without intelligence, and that intelligence is enhanced by the environment, by the surrounding environment. They also talked about the Down syndrome. And we clearly stated that Down syndrome is affected by the environment, whether directly or indirectly. Alright, let them tell us what happens to the genes. Where does that gene go to? It's the environment that affects that disappearance or increment in genes. Because of the surrounding, the child is going to be affected directly or indirectly. Indirectly, I mean the parents might be the one who might have been affected by the environment indirectly. That's why there are fertility problems when men are exposed to toxic substances, when men are exposed to substances that damage their bodies. So their fertility is affected. So
Can you explain to us how the environment influences Down syndrome?
Environment influences Down syndrome in the sense that with the genes interact with the environment. That's what I'm trying to say. The genes interact with the environment, and as they interact with the environment, something goes wrong with the genes, and someone is found to have Down syndrome. And at the end of the day, we'll be terming that person unintelligent. So the conclusion is the environment affected that Down syndrome. And they also told us that we are confusing brilliance and intelligence. Actually, what is brilliance? Brilliance is when someone is extremely intelligent. Someone is extremely intelligent. So at the end of the day, they are agreeing with us that intelligence is actually affected by the environment, because this brilliance that they are talking about takes us back to the intelligence. And the other thing is that you cannot be intelligent without information. You cannot be intelligent. If they want to divorce schooling and intelligence, they won't be very successful, because we cannot divorce these two. These two work together. They came here and clearly stated that intelligence is being able to reason. What are you reasoning? You are reasoning information. What information? Information that you are exposed to. Where are you getting exposed to that information? In the surroundings. The surroundings are the ones that give you that information for you to be able to enhance your intelligence. So at the end of the day, you will be agreeing with us that environment is actually the one that enhances the intelligence. And again, sit down there. And the other thing is that they told us about the twin studies. They told us about the twin studies, that's identical twins raised in different areas of the same countries and all. So what we are saying is people react to the environment differently. And the other thing that they told us is that the brain keeps growing. So this twin study of theirs actually goes back to agree with us that the environment is the one which affects the intelligence. Because if the brain keeps growing, what enhances that growth is the environment that you are exposed to. So at the end of the day, they are agreeing with us that intelligence is actually affected by the environment. Because if they're saying that intelligence increases as you grow, well, if you are in an environment where you are deprived of knowledge, where you are deprived of the things that enhance your intelligence, you are not going to be intelligent. Like I said in my example, you cannot sit down and grow, and when you are 8 years old and expect to be intelligent. You cannot. You have to enhance that intelligence. You have to enhance, and that intelligence is enhanced by the surroundings. like I have already said. And they said that young mothers are less intelligent than older mothers. This explains that as you grow older, you become more intelligent. And as you become more intelligent, it's because of the adaptation to the environment. It's because of the environment that you are surrounded in. You cannot be intelligent. You cannot be intelligent in an environment where you are deprived of intelligence enhancers. So this case of theirs, actually the whole case lies underwater because it's got no evidence to support it. They also kept on singing about people born with bigger brains being more intelligent. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the very people who came here and told us that brains keep growing. Someone is born with bigger brains, someone has brains that are born small, and then they keep on growing. They are actually contradicting with themselves. They don't know what they are saying because they come here and tell us that someone is born with bigger brains. This means that someone is already intelligent. Their brain needs not to grow for them to be intelligent. And then they go on to say that the brain keeps growing. They are actually contradicting with themselves because they are saying someone is already born intelligent and someone is born less intelligent and then becomes more intelligent as they grow older. So at the end of the day, they are a confused government which does not know what they are talking about. And hence, we are going to dismiss their case. With this, allow me to move on to my positive data. As our stand states that genes are the framework of intelligence. They are the framework, they determine the maximum of intelligence that you can reach. So at the end of the day, when you are in an environment where you are deprived of intelligence enhancers, you are not able to be more intelligent. But this explains the reason why when we take a student from Zubamaramba and take them to girls' college, they perform better. Why? It's because of the change in environment. The schools in Zubamaramba may not be having all the intelligence enhancers. They may not be having all the resources to enhance the intelligence of kids. And as a result, the kids will perform poorly. But if you take them to a more conducive environment, they're going to be more intelligent. They're going to actually reason better than the students who are in remote rural areas. So this explains that at the end of the day, even if your genes have set the framework, if you are not in an environment that enhances your intelligence, you are not going to be intelligent. That is why Africa is not appearing in the top 10 list of intelligent countries of 2016. Yet in Africa we are ranked one of the most intelligent countries, but we are not appearing there. Why? Because of lack of resources. So with this, I am so proud.
That was the third speaker from the famous. We shall now have the third speaker from the non-famous.
From the basis and definition of the actual word genes, it defines to be the units in the cells of a living organism that control its physical characteristics. So starting off this debate, it allows us and shows us that the debate is already won, and it is that which is genetics that allows for physical characteristics, and definitely we all agree that intelligence falls under these physical characteristics. A pleasant day to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Standing forward is the third speaker of the National delegation, standing forth against the topic, which reads, and to entail that we define our own words, would say that genetics, ladies and gentlemen, it allows for greater impact on intelligence rather than the environment. It's in allowing that the genetics allow themselves. They allow what enters a person. So it is the genetics part of a human being that's determining how much of the environment influences how a person becomes intelligent. So are we going to award the effect of intelligence to what probably is making it or what's allowing it to be done? Definitely it's what's allowing it to be done that takes the trophy. Therefore, genetics, not environment, influences the intelligence of a person. Coming back to the same analogy that the first speaker of the affirmative delegation, alluded to. He compared genetics to be the bottle and environment to be water. But you also have to understand that there are different sizes of bottles. Henceforth, it is the genetic of the person that allows for the intelligence to take place. Well, there are 2 liters, 500 mils. So it's only the capacity of the person's brain to acquire, to allow the environment to influence them. Can we take for granted a person who probably has the size of genes as 500 mils? Well, that person is probably ready to be less intelligent than a person who has 200 who has a 2-liter bottle. So if you fill 500 mils, it's still intelligence. If you fill 2 liters, it's still intelligence. Allow to the fact that environment can only affect to a less degree how much intelligence can be affected, because it is the capacity of the person's genes to allow the environment to influence them that renders a person intelligent or not. Moving on, I looked at that particular example of Americans. In fact, starting off with Hitler, as they alluded, it was the environment. Well, they say that he was, experiencing violence through his early ages. We take this example as for people who were poor, so to say, when they grew up. We see that most of these people are now what we call rich in our own minds, because they have allowed their genes to expand. Hitler, in the same way, would believe that in every particular dimension and direction, the genes of the person only allow the environment to influence them if the genes themselves allow it to. These people who were poor then are now rich. So why exactly would you argue that Hitler experienced violence then? He still is experiencing it if he was to be alive, and made other people experience it as well. So it is about the choice of the person to allow, particularly the choice of the person coming from the genes that are in their body, to allow and attribute to the environment influence them, which has been our main line of argument to say it is only compatible to the genes to allow the environment to influence intelligence. Therefore, it is genetics and not the environment that alludes to the greater effect of a person's intelligence. Coming to the very same facts alluding to Shaka as a person, he understood that the only way to deal with the savage person is by treating them savagely. These people were savage due to his intelligence, not the environment that he grew up in. He accorded the same things that would allow him to rule a nation effectively. The boundary of Shaka over the years increased, not because he treated these people savagely, but he understood how such people were to be treated. So he took it upon himself, as we would like to call it, brutality. But the true fact is, it's just how these people were supposed to be treated. Hitler, as a person who understood the same fact, he understood what he has done was wrong. But once you said a thing, there is less likely capability of you going back and correcting your mistakes. So we see that in the death of Hitler, he himself and his wife took a cyanide pill because they knew they could not take or they could not face the consequences of their actions. Their genes told them, to the intelligence part of their understanding, to allow that. They understood that the genes that were in them would allow them only to get the machinery to understand that what they had done was wrong. So the only way they couldn't face it after all, so they decided to kill themselves. If Hitler wasn't, exposed to violence, he wouldn't have done it, probably. But he was exposed to it. He chose to do it. It was a matter of his choice, not particularly anyhow his environment that influenced it. They also talked about USA and Africa having different characteristics of how education is derived and delivered to people. Yes, we agree on that. But the question still remains, if we took a Zimbabwean person to live in the United States, what that same person gets the exact same marks or even better marks than the person in the United States? So what we are alluding to is, coming back to the analogy of the bottle, it is only the bottles, the genes, that allow the increase of the genetics. A bottle being big 2 liters. If a person who has probably been half-filled in Africa, they go to the United States, their water is added. But if a person had 500 mils, and they only got to understand the 500 mils that was only in Africa, if they went to the United States, their particular intelligence would not improve because they have exceeded the capacity of that person to understand more and learn more from the education they have received. So it's a matter of the genes themselves influencing how much a person increases their intelligence, not the environment. Because the environment is only water, it will only fill a bottle. If the water wasn't there, which is intelligence, where would the water, which is environment, go? Like you said, environment, therefore, is only there to elude and yes, test the intelligence of a person. You yourself agreed that it only tests the person, not that it influences how a person in every other way would go. Probably our genes have not reached the capacity that we can test this particular intelligence genetically. But once our genes grow, coming from a Flynn effect, which alludes to the fact that the intelligence of people increases by a decade, by 3 points. This is being rated according to an IQ test. So the more people live in actual the world, due to, well, reproduction, which is possible genes from one person to another, it is showing that the genes are coming from the mother. And as they increase because there is birth, which is not in any way environmental, showing that it is intelligence that's coming from the genes, and definitely, and I allude, definitely not the environment which a person lives in. This debate is in every way centered around the situation of Down syndrome. So let me clear the air and finish it off. We do not deny the fact that Down syndrome is affected by, well, the environment in which a person lives in. But it is only the resignment and increase in the genes of a person that allows the environment to attract with the genes. Or rather, let me clarify, the genes attract with the genes attract the environment to influence it, as I said before. Gene mutation is two ways, whether in a person as they grow or rather by the environment. The greater amount is through how a person grows, which is a passing from genes from a mother to a child, which is between the parents that are within the child that make the child themselves. So we are saying that even if environment is to influence Down syndrome's action, to a lesser extent, we as Zimbabweans live under the gene. So it is only that we increase and do for what influences mostly, which is genetics. With this, as the non-affirmers, I shall leave the floor to my first speaker who's going to come and give the latest reply. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we as the non-affirmers rest our case.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we thank the third speaker from the non-affirmative. Now we shall hear a leader's response from the non-affirmers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we say that Down syndrome is basically when your gene is defective. Well, we asked the third speaker what is causing Down syndrome, and she said something goes wrong. I am pretty sure we all want to know what the something is. Secondly, the third speaker mentioned that what is the reasoning about. But if you were to look at it, the first speaker mentioned that intelligence is thinking logically, and thinking logically is reasoning. So if the third speaker is asking us what reasoning is about, she is questioning the first speaker. So therefore, this group of people are confused. Moving on, we mentioned twin studies. Two twins, ladies and gentlemen, monozygotic. They have the same gene. They were put in different environments. But when you tested them by using the STENS IQ test, they had the same intelligence. These are two people who have the same genetics. They went to different environments, but when you tested them at the same time, after some period of time, they had the same intelligence. They have the same genes, and surely supporting our argument, they have the same intelligence. We advocated for what we call mRNA. This is a genetic aspect which influences what we call cortical size when we talk about the brain. The cortical area is in charge of what we call cognitive function. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have mRNA in your gene, you are less intelligent because you have smaller cortical surface area. There is what we call APOE. This is just a genetic glitch. It is genetic. And it causes people's intelligence to increase as they go older. This is found in a population, 75% of our population. So therefore, the genetic aspect is the ruler of the environment. We advocated for what we call phenylketonuria, a defect in the chromosome, which is basically natural, not even influenced by the environment. It's saying that a defect in the 12th chromosome is leading to tyrosine to accumulate in your body, and it affects cognitive function. So therefore, intelligence is being decreased, making the genetic aspect the winner. They gave an evidence. A girl moves from girls' school and then to Zimbabwe food. This is just an assumption. They did not provide any evidence showing that there would be any change in intelligence. So therefore, we can actually say we are questioning that. Moving on. School actually advocates for what we call the claim pass and forget syndrome. They are reviewing intelligence as how much information you know. That's why all your points are centered on the school aspect. Someone might not even go to school but might have greater cognitive function according to the scientific definition of intelligence. Your cognitive ability, the fact that you learn 1 + 1, ladies and gentlemen, how you learn it, not the fact that you have written it on paper and have passed. They do not provide any evidence, significant evidence, concerning the rankings of the world's intelligence. They do not even mention how intelligence is measured. They do not even know. So ladies and gentlemen, we are advocating that we are the winners of this debate, as we have told you how to measure intelligence, and we have given you the burden of proof on our argument. Let's look at two people. There is someone called Walter O'Brien. He's the 4th highest IQ in the world. Case study. He's from an island which suffered from malnutrition. Malnutrition, as they said. But ladies and gentlemen, he is the 4th highest IQ. He's the 4th most intelligent person in the world. Let's look at Albert Einstein. We all know him. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. He came from Germany where there was violence that they mentioned. But still, he is the most intelligent person in the world. There is violence in this country. People are shooting, murders, rape, but he is still intelligent. So can we really say that the environment is influencing any part of Albert Einstein's intelligence? Can we really say that the environment is advocating for any part of Walter O'Brien's intelligence? These people are the intelligent masters. They came from environments where there was literally bad things for intelligence to actually develop, but they are the smartest. Food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. These two people came from the worst environments in the world, but they are the smartest people in the world. Our intelligence is based upon genetic. We advocated for general intelligence, ladies and gentlemen. And they are just saying that information. They are saying that the need for information is actually going to increase intelligence. But we are saying that the genetic aspect, your inbuilt functionality, is the one which is advocating for intelligence. We, as the non-affirmative delegation, are saying, our line of argument is, the genetic aspect is the big boss of the environment. Why? Such as the bottle principle they put forward. The bottle is there. Without the bottle, the environment is simply going to spill, such as the water. So therefore, the genetic aspect is the big boss of the environment. It is actually being the master of the environment. The genetic aspect is choosing which environment to actually influence it. So therefore, the genetic aspect is the master of the environment. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
That was the leader's response from the non-affirmers. Now we shall have the leader's response from the affirmers.
So basically this debate was asking this question, is intelligence inborn or acquired? And this is what we mentioned in this debate. Basically, the case of team non-affirmative was based on twin studies in the Down syndrome, of which the Down syndrome case is already defeated because the third speaker came in and agreed with us and said that gene mutation can be influenced by the environment, meaning that if the environment can influence gene mutation and genes influence intelligence, then the environment influences intelligence. Thank you for that one, Sam. They also came and spoke about twin studies and said that identical twins raised in different environments have got the same IQ. And we talked about environment and adaptation in the environment. Even if they were in different environments, those different environments might have made them reach their capacity of intelligence, which is why they've got the same IQ. They also talked about twin studies and twins one and identical, raised in the same environment and performing different at the end of the day. But then we've already said that people adapt differently to the same environment. I might grow up in violence, but I choose to use that violence and say, no, I shall not allow my children to be violated. And I draw strength from that. But someone else might be raised in violence, and after that decide that they are going to be violent because they've been violated. So at the end of the day, people adapt differently to different environments. So a case like underwater, they came and contradicted themselves. They told us that the brain grows with time. But we had already told them that the reason why the brain grows with time is that as you grow older, you get more adapted to your environment. You grow to understand things brighter. You start understanding a lot of aspects you didn't understand about your environment. That is why we say you grow more intelligent. But they also continued and said, people born with bigger brains are more intelligent. So they're telling us that there are people born with already bigger brains. But the third speaker from our team had already came and stated that someone cannot sit down for 30 years and say that I'm waiting for 30 years so that I become a doctor because I'm already intelligent. You need to interact with the environment in order to acquire that intelligence and then you use it. So this point of them telling us that people being born with bigger brains are more intelligent is understandable because they didn't even tell us how they measure brain size. Do they measure it with the size of the head or what? They came and told us that genes allow the environment to influence them. Genes allow the environment to influence them. So if genes are allowing the environment to influence them, genes are are being influenced by the environment by one way or another. Thank you for agreeing with us. Because now this debate has been has had 6 participants in the affirmative side. We haven't been debating, we've been discussing, because it all came down to them agreeing with us, telling us that genes allow the environment to influence them, thus environment influences genes. Full stop. They came and talked about different size bottles. But we have already illustrated through our first speaker in our team that the different size bottles are the framework of the genes, and the intelligence is what is inside. It doesn't matter. If my bottle is 2 liters and yours is 500 mils, and the environment allows me to fill up that 500 mils, and your environment allows you to fill up that 2 liters, at the end of the day, all of us are intelligent because we reach the highest capacity of our intelligence. It doesn't matter. My intelligence might allow me to get a C, and someone else's intelligence might allow them to get an A. But the fact that you reach the highest capacity of your framework means that you're considered intelligent. They came and told us, and then failed to actually explain the fluctuation of performance. If they are saying that people are born naturally intelligent, why is it that we do not have one person being position 1 from form 1 to upper 6? It fluctuates. Some people are not always position 1. Someone who might have been position 36 might be position 1 this time. That doesn't mean that someone injected more genes into their brain or that their genes grew. And if the case is their genes grew, then maybe they adapted better to the environment. The environment influences people. Our solution, what we are saying is team affirmative actually suits this debate more, because if you change your surroundings, you change your peers, your performance is meant to be affected. If a teacher changes, you might perform lower. But their explanation doesn't make sense, because if you perform higher, does that mean that your brain grew bigger that term? Or if your performance dropped, does that mean that your brain grew smaller that term? Which they were insinuating, and we cannot take that because that is illogical and it is not of this debate. They came and taught us about someone who was malnutritioned but managed to be intelligent. Intelligence is not only confined to the diet of a person. It might be their peers. Even as much as they might have been malnutritioned, their peers encourage them that you can work hard. Maybe the environment that they grew up in it, good schooling, teachers, and good facilities. At the end of the day, they were able to be intelligent. So they shouldn't confine the environment to only what the diet says. But what did we say in this debate? We told you that genes are just a framework for the intelligence, and the intelligence is what is inside the genes. We told you that intelligence depends on the environment, because people who grow up not exposed to things are bound not to know as much as people who grow up exposed to things. We might be doing theoretical chemistry at school, knowing sodium hydroxide and sodium chloride in textbooks, but not knowing it actually. People who have been exposed to sodium chloride actually are bound to be more intelligent than us because of their environment. Some people grow up in violated homes, some people grow up in homes where they're not given the right to go to go and learn. At the end of the day, their intelligence is affected by the environment. With this, we believe that the debate comes to our side, and I'm so proud to propose. Thank you.
Salutations of the day to all ladies and gentlemen. And the first speaker from the affirmative side, going for the notion that this house believes that intelligence depends on environmental rather than genetic factors. Now, for all key terms we have, this house, this delegation, believes is certain that intelligence, mental ability to grasp, understand, and apply, environmental, pertaining to the surroundings, genetics, the science of heredity. Now, for our rephrased notion, it would read, this delegation is certain that the mental ability to grasp, understand, and apply depends on the surroundings rather than the science of heredity. Now, as team government, we're going for the topic. Moving on to a point. As the team government, we're saying that the resources available for the child boost the child's IQ. Now let's take, for example, in childhood. A child who plays with educational toys is different from that who doesn't play with educational toys. Now these educational toys boost the IQ of the child. Henceforth, we are saying that environmental factors. Now, let's take for instance a child who grows up in a very abusive environment, ladies and gentlemen. This in turn stifles the ability of the child to grasp things. So then, the environmental factor has determined how the child reacts to grasping concept. Ladies and gentlemen, as team government, we're saying that the nutrition, the diet a child eats. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why people are encouraged to eat fish? Now, this is because fish boosts the IQ of a person. Henceforth, we're saying that the diet, the nutrition that a person consumes, in actual fact, boosts a person's IQ, or rather, determines how a person grasps concepts and applies them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have medicines that in actual fact boost people's IQ. For example, bioplast. Now, bioplast boosts the capacity of a person to apply and grasp. Accepted.
Is bioplast part of the environment?
Yes, it's part of the environment. The environment is the surroundings. Things that you get the things that you get from the environment are part of the environment. Henceforth, it's an environmental factor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the team government, we are also saying that the health of a person. Let's take, for example, a person who has a bad health state. Now, this person isn't able to grasp concepts due to the health state. Hence, health is an environmental factor, ladies and gentlemen. Hence, we are saying that environmental factors determine the IQ of a person. Ladies and gentlemen, as team government, we are standing firm for the topic. That means that this house believes that environmental factors rather than genetic factors influence the IQ of an individual. Now, to summarize our points, ladies and gentlemen, we are saying that the resources that are given to a child determine the child's IQ. We are saying that the background, the way the child is raised, for example, if a child grows up on intellectual people, now this boosts the child's IQ. We are also saying that the nutrition in which the person takes in, or the nutrition that a person consumes, also determine the IQ of an individual. We are saying that the health state of an individual also determines the IQ of a person.
Point of information.
Accepted.
Ma'am, don't you realize that the health state of an individual is influenced by their genetic reactions?
No, ladies and gentlemen. If I go into an accident, is that a genetic factor? Certainly not. The health state isn't only because of the fact that I inherited a disease, but in actual fact, I can go into an accident, hence I go into a bad health state. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we also talked of medicines that enhance a person's IQ. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all dust has settled. I shall now leave the time to my second speaker, who will come and clash some of the irrelevant points that would have been raised by the non-affirmers, and then further explain and expurgate all of the points that we raised as a team. And also, next, our third speaker would come and clash, nullify, and crucify all of the irrelevant points raised by the team opposition. Now, ladies and gentlemen, would you go on to say that genetics determine how a person's IQ, is boosted? Certainly not. Ladies and gentlemen, environmental factors, the environment, the place that we live in, determines how a person would apply and grasp concepts, not genetics. Genetics only works in the short run. We are not denying the fact that genetic factors influence a person's IQ. Yes, they influence a person's IQ in the short run, but then in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, we are saying that environmental factors would be bullying. Henceforth, environmental factors determine a person's IQ. With this, I rest my case.
ladies and gentlemen, can one go on to say that I'm intelligent just because I was born in the United States of America? Or can one go on to say that I'm dumb just because I was born in Somalia? It's truly insane, ladies and gentlemen, for 25 intelligent people in America and also dumb people in America. But we also go on to find intelligent people in Somalia and also dumb people in Somalia. Food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. Well, compliments of the day to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm indeed the first speaker from the non-affirmative delegation, going strongly against the topic emotion, which goes to be, this house believes that intelligence depends on environmental factors rather than genetic factors. And we are against the topic. As the first speaker, I shall go on to redefine the key terms of the topic. This house, meaning this delegation, believes in strong faith that intelligence, this is the ability to learn and think in a logical way about certain things. The environment, this is connected with the natural conditions in which humans, plants, and animals live. Then genetics, this is connected with the genes and chromosomes of a living organism that controls its physical characteristics. Here in our